What's up, Guardians? Avian Flu here with a crazy Warlock DPS build. This build synergizes the regenerative abilities of the Karnstein Armlets with the destructive power of the underrated exotic SMG, Tarrabah. Neither of these exotics are the most popular, but when paired together, you become an unstoppable demon that haunts your enemies in their nightmares. With the right combination of stasis abilities and mods, you push the Tarrabah's damage output to rival the heavy machine gun Heir Apparent. First, let's check out the Shadebinder subclass. I went with Healing Rift for the survivability, but the Empowering Rift can further increase your damage output. The Cold Snap Grenade is a great choice for this build because freezing enemies is one way we increase our damage. The Cold Snap freezes a lot of enemies with its chaining ability. For the aspects, I went with Ice Flare Bolts. Shattering a frozen target spawns Seekers that track and freeze other nearby targets. I know that the Stasis turret is really popular right now, but I went with Frost Pulse to freeze enemies within melee range. I'll explain why that's important later. For the first fragment, I went with Whisper of Hedrons, which increases weapon damage by 25% after freezing a target. Whisper of Durance is good to keep targets frozen longer. Tarrabah's perk Ravenous Beast charges from dealing and taking damage, so I went with Whisper of Torment to also charge my grenade when taking damage. Whisper of Change reduces our damage taken when near frozen targets. This is one reason why Frost Pulse is good for this build. Let's take a look at Tarrabah. Its perk Ravenous Beast charges as you deal or take damage. Hold reload to activate the perk once fully charged. Once activated, you extend the duration of Ravenous Beast by dealing continuous damage, making it great for adds or burst boss damage. Since Tarrabah loses its charge when you switch weapons, it's really the only gun that I use with this build. I know that sounds limiting and boring, but you'll have Ravenous Beast charge so often that you will want or need to switch weapons. Tarrabah no longer loses its charge when you pull out your Ghost, activate your abilities, or use your super, only when you switch weapons or die. Let's take a look at the helmet. I have an Arc Affinity so I can equip the hands-on mod. We'll be getting a lot of melee kills, so we might as well be charging our super too. I'm also using SMG targeting to boost Tarrabah and taking charge to stack charges of light. For the exotic armor, I'm using the Karnstein Armlets. This exotic restores a large amount of health after a melee kill and continues to restore health for 10 seconds. Any melee kill will proc this ability, so you don't need a charged melee kill for it to work. I'm using the SMG seasonal artifact mods, but these are changing soon. Focusing Strike is a good general mod since it gives us rift energy on melee hits. This mod requires a void affinity. For the chest armor, I'm using Unflinching SMG and SMG Reserves, further boosting Tarrabah. In the fourth column, I'm using High Energy Fire, which increases our weapon damage while charged with light. This mod isn't locked into an affinity, so you can equip it where you have room. Moving on to the boots. I'm using an Arc Affinity so I can equip the Invigoration mod, which gives melee energy when we pick up Orbs of Power. In the fourth column, I'm using Swift Charge, which gives us charges of light for rapid SMG kills, and we'll be getting a lot of SMG kills. The last piece of armor is the Bond. I have it tuned to Solar so I can equip the Charged Up mod, giving me an additional stack of Charge with Light for the weapon damage boost. For lack of better options, I'm double stacking Bomber to get back grenade energy when I use my Rift. This is a pretty good mod choice, but if you prefer something else, by all means go with that. Let's see how it all synergizes together. Use a stasis ability to freeze targets, giving you a damage boost from Whisper of Hedrons. Start spraying the frozen targets with Tarrabah as you get within melee range. Remember that Ice Flare Bolts will freeze more enemies when you kill a frozen target. When you're within melee range, kill a target to proc Vampire's Caress, giving you back a ton of health and restoring health for 10 seconds. With Vampire's Caress procced, deal and soak up damage to charge Ravenous Beast. You probably already have it charged. Once charged, hold reload to activate Ravenous Beast and revel in your insane damage output. Continue to melee targets to restore health and abilities. With everything procced and without Powering Rift, you can do almost 3,000 damage a shot, rivaling Heir Apparent. And in a target-rich environment, you can burn through 3 to 4 mags before Ravenous Beast ends. I'm not much of a PvP player, but I was able to pull off some decent plays in the Crucible with this build. You may have some better luck if you have more skill than I do. That about wraps up this Warlock build. Remember that you can buy Tarrabah from the exotic kiosk in the tower. It's a little pricey, but this build makes it worth the cost. I hope you get some use out of it. A like and sub is always appreciated. Thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.